So there's an incredible Gemara in Brachos that we have to know. Gemara in Brachos Samach Aleph. The Gemara says like this. Listen carefully. This is an incredible idea. The Gemara says that the government at one point made a gzeira. They made a decree that Klal Yisrael are not allowed to learn Torah. Right? Well, a terrible time in Klal Yisrael. That it was dangerous. It was actually dangerous for them to learn Torah at the time, because anyone that was learning Torah would be killed. It was crazy. Right? So that's what happened at the time. The problem is, the Gemara tells us that they found Rabbi Kiva, who was learning Torah. Not only was he learning Torah, he was teaching Torah in public, like a real serious aveira in those days. So they said, the Yidden said to him, Rebbe, Rabbi Kiva, you're not worried about the government? You're not worried that the government are going to catch you? Meaning they caught him, meaning the Yidden over there caught him and saying, what are you doing? You could be damaging who knows how many people. You're not worried about the government? What's going to be? So Kiva said a Gavaldig mashal. Okay, and it's a very important mashal. The Gemara tells us, as you look up the Maisa yourself in Brachos Daf Samach Aleph, Rabbi Kiva says the following mashal. And he said, I want to give you a mashal. Can you imagine? There's a fox. And this fox is walking very calmly along the riverside, going for a stroll one nice afternoon. And he sees the fish. Inside the water he sees fish. And these fish are running from place to place. Swimming here, swimming there, going there. So he says to them, where are you going? What are you worried about? Where are you running? They said, what are you talking about? There are nets that come in here the whole time. There's these strings with bait attached to it that come in here the whole time. We're running away. We don't want to be caught. We don't want to have problems. We don't want to be going in the net. Who knows what's going to happen to us then? So the fox says, you know something? I'll tell you something very good. Why don't you come here? Jump to where I am, onto dry land. You come live with me in my house. I'll protect you. Nothing will happen to you. No nets over there, no bait, no fishermen. Everything will be wonderful. So the fish returned to him and said, you fox, I thought you're supposed to be a clever animal. Or you must be completely crazy. If in the place that we can live, we're scared, so in the place that we cannot live, dry land, even more so. Answered Rabbi Kiva to the Yidden that asked him, how is he teaching Torah Barabim in a place where they were not allowed to do so? And he said, Ki hi chayecha. Torah is our life. Torah is our breath that we breathe. It's the air, it's the oxygen of which we basically rely on. So what do you want me to do? You want me to stop? I won't be able to live. Now, it wasn't just a cliche. Rabbi Kiva wasn't saying it like a nice, cute Sheva Brachas Torah. This was real. It was real. It was a real statement that without Torah, it doesn't go. How are you going to live? Rabbi said we're a few days before Kabbalah Torah. Before we stand in the Beis HaMedrash, listening to the Aseres HaDibros, hopefully being mekabel the Torah again. Think about it. Rabbi Kiva told us that this is what gives him life. This is his breath, this is his oxygen. Imagine a guy drowning in the sea, as we said last time, and with all of his strength, he tries to save himself, and he manages to hold on to something, and he manages to climb up. And somebody asked him, after he saved himself, he's living. They said, tell me something. What were you thinking? What were you thinking when you were in that water? Like, what was going through your head? He said, there was only one thing going in my head. I needed to breathe. I needed just to live. I needed to have a little bit more strength. I just needed to take another breath. Just as long as I have another breath, I'll be fine. And that's the moshel over here. The moshel over here is, I know sometimes it sounds a little bit far, like, oh, come on, Torah, it's our life, it's our breath. There are many people who are living, nice lives, in quotation marks. They're not learning Torah, right? But it's sad, because that's not the Metzias, that's not the truth. The truth is that Torah is our life, it's our oxygen, it's what keeps us going. For people that are successful, there's a Moedika Medrash. The Medrash in Bereshis Rabbah, Perek Chav Zayin brings down a very interesting thing, on the same theme as the fish. Says the Medrash, just like fish grow in the water, and they live in the water, their whole lives they're in the water. What happens, says the Medrash, when it starts to rain? I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but you should go check this out. It's Mefurish Medrash, but it's the Metzias. When it starts to rain, in fact, you could try this in an aquarium if you want, right? You can sprinkle some water, like just, make it like a fake rain situation. You know what you'll see? All the fish will come to the top to try and get some of that water. And you think to yourself, which the Medrash asks, you have as much water as you want. You're living with water, you're immersed in water, all you're doing is in water. but yet you want more water from on top? Says the Medrash, this is Klal Yisrael. This is Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael grow up in the water of Torah. We're immersed in Torah, but we want to hear another Chiddush. We want to learn more. We want to hear something new. We want to get something new. Just like a fish in water wants to get those little bit of drops, even though he's got plenty. I want to get something fresh. So too with Torah, that should be our hashkafa. That should be our look in life, to find something new, to learn something new, to gain something new. That's what it's all about. Rabbi Yerucham on Pirkei Avos and Perek Aleph, Mishnah Dalet, and says, just like fish are thirsty for every drop of water, even though they have so much, right? Because they know that this is their life, and therefore every drop they're happy with. And he says, the mashal to us as well. Anybody ever fed up of breathing air? You ever met a guy who says, I'm so fed up of this air. It's so monotonous. Every day the same air. Come on. The flavor's the same. The smell's the same. Everything's the same. Come on. Let's have something fresh, something new. Let's, vibrancy of life. Nobody ever said such a thing. Because air is what you live off. And you're pretty satisfied with what you live off. And that's it. So Torah, says Rabbi Yerucham, is the same thing. We should never get sick of Torah. Torah has to be, every breath of fresh air is a breath of fresh air. Every chiddush in Torah, every pasuk, every halacha, every line in Gemara, whatever we can do, whatever we can learn, whatever we can hear, chap it. So many times I get emails from people from around the world, Baruch Hashem, unbelievable. It gives me such chizuk. You hear people from places in the middle of who knows where, in Bulgaria and in Africa, and people are listening. And I hear these people, it's unbelievable. And they write to me telling me that every share and everything, they try to chap, and they're in the car and they're driving and they're walking and they chap wherever they can. Not all these people are sitting and learning in Koilon, not all these people are sitting and learning in the Yeshiva, or maybe they never got supposed to do that either. But they realize that every moment of Torah, every share, every chiddush, every halacha, every musa, every ashkafa, every gemara, whatever they can chap, they chap it. Do we do that? Do we do that? We're like, plenty of time. What's the rush? We have plenty of time to learn. We got plenty of time. Tell you a moed gazach. You've heard of Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky, I'm sure, right? Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky was one of the big magidim here in Yerushalayim. He used to go around saying stories. He used to go around, giving people chizuk. So this is a famous one. He once spoke to a group of Jews that were not very religious. And he was talking on the parasha that we just had, person has to learn Torah, has to be omul b'Torah, has to be connected to Torah. And he gave a mashal. And he said that one time there was a group of Bedouins that came into Tel Aviv. These people have never been into the town before. They'd never been into civilization before. They had never seen electricity before, basically. They lived in the desert in a tent with some animals and whatever they have. That's how they lived. They never saw anything different. So for the first time in their life, they had a group of them that came to Tel Aviv. They wanted to meet with the mayor. I don't know exactly what the purpose was, but they came over there and to learn a little bit about the life of civilization and normality. Anyway, they spent the whole day, they saw big buildings. They saw electricity, cars, trains. They saw lights. They saw things they never saw in their lives. It's incredible. And at the end of their visit, they went to a dinner in the city hall of Tel Aviv. And at the end of the dinner, the mayor, who was the speaker there, who wanted to speak to them or whatever, he told them that he would like them to take a gift back with them in order to always have a memory and, something that they could cherish, something they could take back to their Bedouin village. They're not going to come back for who knows how long. Something to take back with them. Something that they saw that maybe they got impressed by. And, anything they want, they can have. That's what the mayor told them. Whatever you want, you could choose whatever you want, no problem. Right? Amazing. What an opportunity. So the leader of this Bedouin group told the mayor, he said, actually, there is something that we noticed that really would enhance our lives in a tremendous way. And if you could give this to us, and if you could arrange this, it would be unbelievable. So the mayor's getting a bit nervous. Maybe he's going to ask for one of the skyscrapers or something. I don't know. What's he going to ask for, right? So he says, there's a gadget that we would very much benefit from, and that is water. Because when we get water, we have to go schlepping it on camels with buckets and contraptions we built to go to the river, put it on, fill it up, bring it back. It takes time, effort. It's very annoying. I see that in this city, in this town, you have an amazing gadget. It's called a faucet, a tap. You just turn the button. We take it for granted. Like, what's the shayla? You turn it, water's going to come out, right? That's how it goes, right? I remember when I was in yeshiva, there were many, many mornings, we woke up in the morning, right? I'm not that old. But there was no running water. Now I'm serious. Because the Arabs had come in and switched off the water and ran out, whatever, we had a lot of it. It was amazing. You woke up in the morning, there was no running water. We couldn't do Nagelwasser. That's how it was, right? Sound like I'm like coming back from, who knows who. But that was the Metzias. You guys, Baruch Hashem, as our breakfast. Anyway, so the point is like this. So he said, you turn the faucet, you turn the tap, and bang! Lo and behold, you go, water. Could you get us one of those taps? We would love one of those taps. So the mayor says, sure, no problem. I'll arrange it for you. Give me a few minutes. Goes to a local store, one of these places where they sell supplies, whatever it is. Comes in a nice little briefcase, looks like fancy. He says, here you go. This is your present. Take this back with you and show everyone. This is incredible. So they come back to the village. You can't imagine. Everybody gives them a welcome. Oh, they've come back. This is incredible. This is unbelievable. Here they are. Tell us about your experiences. What did you see? What did you hear? What's it all about? We never went to such a place. We've heard all about these towns and villages and cities. What's going on over there? So he said, you can't imagine. It's an unbelievable thing. It's an unbelievable thing. We've got something which is absolutely unbelievable. And they opened it up and it was like oohing and ahhing. Wow, a faucet, a tap. What are you going to do with it? What is this? You're going to see. This is the best surprise. This is the best present we can ever get. We got this from the mayor of Tel Aviv. This is unbelievable. Yeah. So they figure out how to attach it to the side of the tent, right? It's sort of it's a bit hard because the tent's made of cloth. It's like a heavy metal piece. So trying to figure out how the whole thing shouldn't pull down the whole tent when they didn't attach it. And then they attach it and everything. Both sides, everybody's crowding around. Everyone's there excited. Just watch this. And they turn. No, maybe I did it wrong. Maybe I installed it wrong or something. He figured it out. Didn't go. Tried this way, tried that way, that direction. Nothing went. He comes back, eventually a few months later, he came back to Tel Aviv again to meet the mayor or whatever. Yeah, you gave me a faulty present. What type of present is that? So the mayor started laughing. He said, you can't just take the faucet. It has to be connected to pipes. It has to be connected to a spring of water. You can't just connect, it doesn't work that way. Said Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky, an amazing thing. He said, Torah isn't a science. It's not knowledge. It's not something you know. It's connected to a higher source. It needs to be connected to a higher source. It needs to be connected to Har Sinai. It needs to be the right Torah. It needs to be in the right way. It needs to be the person who has to realize what Torah is, what it connects him to. That's an amazing, amazing thing. There was a Yid, you probably heard of him, the Rabbi Yitzchak Silber. Rabbi Yitzchak Silber arrived in Eretz Yisrael from Russia. Right, he came, famous, there's books about him, incredible Yid. And he learned a tremendous amount of Torah in Russia. He taught a lot of children over there. It was an unbelievable thing. He was a moil, he went against the Russian government. What he did was unbelievable. And he would really travel hours and hours and waste a nefesh to be moil, a child of bris milah that needed it. There was no one else to do it. He did incredible things. He landed here in Eretz Yisrael. Right, he landed in Eretz Yisrael. His plane in that time landed in Lud airport. And he was waiting to get his baggage. Now, in Russia, he learned a tremendous amount, right? He sat and learned Yom V'Layla, he taught children. He did an unbelievable thing. The problem is, he didn't have all the Sfarim. He didn't have any Rebbeim. So there were many questions that he had that he didn't get answers to. What about, what's pshat in this Mishnah? How do you understand this halacha? He didn't know. He didn't have any Sfarim there. He couldn't ask a higher authority, so he was stuck by himself. He had questions. He was excited. Comes to Eretz Yisrael. It's always a place where there's Sfarim, there's Rebbeim, there's everything over here, right? So I'll be able to learn, I'll be able to ask everyone. So he walks over to a porter, a guy, one of the guys who fetch the suitcases. And he goes over to him and says, excuse me sir, do you have 2 minutes? I have a very important question. There's a Mishnah in Kalim, right? Kalim is a hard, could you possibly explain me this Mishnah? The guy looked at him like he dropped out of Mars. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. I never even heard such a Mishnah before. I never heard such an existent thing. Right? What's going on? And he went to another guy. Maybe you know Pshat. A third guy. Maybe you know Pshat. Nobody knew anything. And then he said, I don't understand. This is a place where everyone's free, where you could learn, where you have the opportunity, and you're not using that opportunity? What a waste. What a waste. He couldn't believe it. Rabbi Say, every single one of us have an opportunity. Every single one of us can do it, can get there. Do we? Do we take advantage of the opportunity? Do we take advantage of everything that we have? And let me just end with one last Kavaldik Maisa. A number of years ago, there lived a Chassidish Yid in Brooklyn. Whatever his name was, we'll call him Moshe Cohen. Okay? Now, he owned a grocery store, okay, in New York. And people looked at him as a very, very simple Jew. He survived the ghetto and the concentration camps during the Holocaust. And he lost, unfortunately, many of his loved ones, and his emunah and b'tochen Hashem was complete. It was unbelievable. He had total emunah in Hashem. Complete simchas hachaim. Unbelievable person. Whenever he had a moment, sitting in that grocery store, he had his Gemara open, his Chumash open, whatever he could learn, he chapped. There was a girl, a seminary girl, who boarded his home, who stayed there. She needed to stay there. She had nowhere to stay, and they found him a place, in his house and in Moshe Cohen's home, a good place for her to stay while she was in seminary, and she stayed there. She got a letter, and the letter was enclosed a picture of her family back home in the Midwest. So she showed the picture to Rabbi Cohen, who looked very, very hardly at the image of this girl's brother, and she said, "This young man is someone that I recognize from Italy. Someone I once knew in Italy." And she's like, "Oh yeah, that my father actually spent some time in Italy. He was a chaplain in the United States Army, and he was with all the troops that ran the displaced persons camps after the war." Rabbi Cohen was completely shocked. He couldn't believe it. Sometime later, the Cohens were blessed with a baby boy. The girl's father flew to New York to be there for the bris. That's where her daughter stays. And after spending some time talking to Rabbi Cohen, he related the following at the Sudas Mitzvah. One of the chaplain's responsibilities was to determine each survivor's most urgent needs, what he needed most. He would climb onto the army truck, he used a bullhorn, and would instruct people to line up. The survivors would pile past the truck, tell the chaplain what they needed, and one of those people was Rabbi Cohen, who stood on that line. When his turn came, he looked at the chaplain and he said, "Excuse me, I need a Gemara Baba Kama. Chaplain didn't understand. He said, no. I'm trying to get you some clothing, medical supplies, maybe you need some medication, maybe you want food. How can I help you?" So the young survivor looked up and responded, 5.5 years ago, I was learning Masechtas Baba Kama. The Nazis then came, and I haven't seen a Gemara since that time. Now, Baruch Hashem, I'm free to learn again. I want to resume my learning Baba Kama. That's what I need most. Could you please get me a Gemara Baba Kama? The chaplain had heard that in an old mansion near the camp, the Nazis had dumped the contents of a Hebrew library. So he went to the mansion, he searched through the heaps of books, and he found the Gemara Baba Kama. And now Rabbi Cohen had everything that he needed, because he understood what's most precious to him in life. And Rabbi say, it's a lesson to us. Before Shavuos, before Kabbalas HaTorah, remember the message. The message is Torah is the most precious thing that we have. We all have the opportunity to learn whenever we can, however much we can. But let's bear that in mind, that people really understood, Ki Hem Chayecho, this is our lives. Our lives depend on this. And Be'ez Hashem, if we do this, the Rebbe will give us a lot of Siyat Shmaya, Be'ez Hashem, to receive His Torah, to love His Torah, and of course to live His Torah. Okay.